Hey guys, welcome to You the Boss podcast, episode 54. I'm your host, Pam, and today we're going to be talking about the 5 love languages, friendship edition. There's a lot of chatter or talk, online, different blogs, or even like memes and things like that talk about the love languages, talk about them mostly containing options about romantic relationships. And today I wanted to touch on the friendship aspect of this because we often forget how important friendships are and that they are still a type of relationship. Before we get started, just know that all the information is in the show notes, the links to the book that I'm going to mention. This isn't a sponsored episode, but I really like this book and I like this author, and I often like to talk about it and quote it. So the book is called The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. So let's get started. The 5 love languages are words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. I've read this book, I want to say like 2 or 3 times in the last 10 years, and I always enjoy bringing it up. Yes, to couples, but I always enjoy bringing it up to my friends. And the reason is because I feel like it's such a fun topic. It's kind of like we already speak English, right? Or we may speak Spanish or other languages, but it's so much fun to get to know someone on a deeper level, to get to understand maybe how they are listening when it comes to their relationships, when it comes to the people in their life. It's also fun to me because it's it's just so fun to like figure out how someone likes to be loved. Again, that there is such a thing as platonic love, as love within a friendship, and we never want to ignore those because those are equally, if maybe even more important than our romantic relationships. So I'm going to start off with explaining the love languages, and I'm going to start with the first one, which is words of affirmation. And this is just, you like to be encouraged, you like to be told how much someone loves you, that you like it to be expressed to you with words. You like to be told that someone appreciates you, that they support you, and you like to be told often. That's how you feel loved, that's how you feel appreciated. Number 2, quality time. You enjoy meaningful interactions, you enjoy having a meaningful time with people. Maybe it's not quantity time, like you don't have to spend all day, every day, all the time with someone, but the time that you're together, they're present, it's meaningful to you, and you leave feeling refreshed. Number 3, receiving gifts. Now, I'm going to be honest. I love getting presents. I think everyone loves getting presents. But specifically, the love language of receiving gifts, it emphasizes the importance of thoughtful gifts. They appreciate getting maybe just a flower and saying, I saw this flower and it made me think of your eyes. Or, you know what, I was walking in the supermarket and I saw that they were having a seasonal sale, and I noticed that your favorite snack was on sale, so I got you two instead of just one. Things like that is a way of receiving gifts, and something in someone's love language. Number 4 is acts of service. This love language, it's like this person doesn't expect much per se. I feel like the most, or my I should say my number 1 is acts of service. Like if you decided, hey, I ordered your groceries for you, or hey, let me pick up your groceries for you, or let me make dinner, or you know what, you made dinner, let me, clean up the dishes. Or if we go out to eat, you decided that you wanted to make a reservation for us because you knew the restaurant was busy, or you knew that, you know, uh, uh, the next couple of weeks are going to be super busy with your friends, so you decided to set them up with an automatic laundry thing. Or maybe it's not even something that costs money. Maybe it's just more that you take your you take out the garbage for your best friend when you come over to watch their pet for a couple of days. You take out the garbage for them because they didn't get a chance to do it, or they recycle, or maybe you tidy up for them. Acts of service kind of speaks to that love language. And number 5, physical touch. People with this love language, they feel most love when you give them a hug, you hold hands, or you kind of share that form of intimacy. In friendships, I often find that I love to be hugged, and I feel like I feel the most of someone's reciprocation of love with physical touch. So, in the same way that across the world there's different languages spoken, and sometimes we come back to maybe it's Spanish in that region or English that is the common default language, we all have different languages that we speak amongst our relationships. You know, Johnny might talk to Peter, they might have a different type of relationship where acts of service is kind of how they communicate. But Peter, for him, it may be more so quality time. He doesn't care if you do things for him, but he cares if you put in the effort to spend time. And it's important to note that with the people in your life, because a lot of the time we may take for granted the relationships that we have. Everyone does love differently, and I'm just going to come out and say it. The new era of saying I'm a low maintenance friend, or saying, it doesn't take much for me, is very dismissive, and it is very untrue. I recognize that not everyone needs to be spoken to every single day to be able to feel like you have a strong connection in a friendship, but there are certain people that do. And I don't think one is more worthy than the other. I just think that there are different, I think the word that I'm looking for is dynamics. That's the word. There's different dynamics amongst different friends. So to just assume that, someone doesn't need to reach out to you often or etc., that doesn't mean you're a low maintenance friend. That just means that maybe your love language is quality time over quantity time, right? It's also important to understand that the image of saying, you know what, I don't need to talk to you all the time, but you making the effort to reach out to me when you do, or, you know what, I haven't seen you in a while, let me catch up with you, let me come visit you, let me do that sort of thing. And then it's also remembering that it is totally valid to realize that maybe you're not speaking the same love language. Maybe you're at a point in a relationship where things need to kind of loosen up, or maybe you just need some time from each other. Sometimes that happens with friendships that you've had for a while. I always like to compare relationships and friendships to plants. And I always make the joke that I'm a simple plant. I'm a house plant. You water me and you put me in the sun and I'm fine. And while that is true on the perspective of like the kind of plant that I am, where I don't feel that I'm too complicated, I wouldn't say that I'm simple, more so that I'm a little bit more complex. There's more layers to me. The more that you get to know me, the more that you realize those different layers. So friendships are like plants, and you initially from the beginning you take your seed and you plant it into fertile soil and you water it and you give it its appropriate amount of sunshine. And you notice that very quickly, within that short time period, you notice that maybe some leaves have started to grow, maybe the plant has started to sprout, and maybe the little pot that you put it in, maybe you need to replant it into still the fertile soil, but you put it in a bigger pot. There's more room for this friendship, more space for this friendship. And then you're watering it and giving it sunlight, and you want to make sure that you're taking care of this plant. Sometimes you have to prune it. Sometimes you have to give it a little extra care, talk to it a little nicely and say, good morning, little aloe plant. And sometimes you need to really trim it down. Sometimes maybe you have to take that 15-year-old plant and just kind of put it to the side and let it get a little bit of breathing room. Still water it here and there, but you need to put it to the side. You need to give it its time to grow because, like plants, we all go through different eras, different stages in our lives, and we need to give each other the space to grow. Right now, we thrive on community. Right now, we are the friendships that are in our lives. So, whether you have just a handful of really good friends or you're very an introvert extrovert is kind of like what I like to say, where I have a lot of different people that I'm connected with in different areas of my life. People that, I touch base with maybe every other week or I reach out to them on social media. And then there's other people that, my handful, my core people that I speak to, a couple times a week, sometimes even every day. And those are the different relationships, the different dynamics, and those different love languages come into play because of how much work that is. In the same way that it's so much work to have, let's say, 10 or 15 plants over the course of time, and you want to make sure you're taking care of all of them individually if they're all different plants, it's the same thing with relationships. And it's very important to nurture them and very important to be aware of them. Maybe right now you're listening to this episode and you're thinking to yourself, there's a friend of mine that I haven't heard from in a while, and I've just been so busy. I'm like, I know that they're busy, and I haven't reached out. Not to say that at all times it is your responsibility to reach out, but if it does matter to you and it crosses your mind, put yourself out there and just take it a step at a time. That if maybe you're not getting the reciprocated love, that maybe you can continue to move forward and again put that little bit of a plant to the side. So I want to give you 3 tips or steps that you can take to strengthening your relationships. And number 1 is learn your love language. Take the quiz. Again, I've attached the information in the show notes, and you're going to take a quiz that's going to guide you to tell you the percentages basically of your love language, basically rating them from 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And you'll be able to fully maybe even start to understand yourself more, but also be able to show in your friendships how you want to be loved, how you want to show up. I feel like that's such a strength to be able to master yourself and say, you know what, this is how I feel love. This is what I want to feel that love. Number 2, exchange your results with your friends. Again, I love having this discussion with my girlfriends. I love, even some of my guy friends. It's really important to not forget that because gender is not exclusive here to these languages. And I like to exchange them. Every time I bring it up, I like to give people the quiz. I like to say, hey, like, what's your love language? Let's talk about it. And the reason I like to exchange those is because you get to know one another. You get to figure out what is best fitting for you. And number 3, strengthen your relationships. I say this often. Number 1, romantic relationships are not the only relationships. If you're in a romantic relationship right now, it's important to remember the people, whether it's many or just 1 or 2 people that have always been there for you. I think it's important to remember that. I think it's important to speak to your friend. Make sure you guys are speaking the same languages. Sometimes there's going to be times where you're not speaking the same love languages, where you may be in different phases of life, whether, someone just got married and someone's newly single, and like those things may be in different places. So you have to nurture that a little bit differently with your love languages. Recognize that not all your relationships are going to have the same love language. Just because your love language doesn't change based on your relationship doesn't mean that the other person's doesn't. You have to be willing to take note when you're exchanging your results, and you have to take note and say, you know what, let me show up for this person, or let me surprise them in their love language to let them know that I see them and affirm them. And while that can be a lot of work and that can be maybe even daunting, so is being a really good friend. And if you want to be a really good friend and you want to meet the people you love where they are, then I recommend you take the quiz, exchange the results, and just nurture that. Nurture your garden of life. Thank you for listening. Come back again next week for another episode of You the Boss podcast.